Picture this. A 17-year-old immigrant arrives in California with exactly $1,000 to his name. No family, no connections, no backup plan. His parents had divorced when he was just 6 years old, leaving his family in financial ruin. And he'd been working a minimum wage job just to survive. And now he's about to make a decision that everyone thinks is completely insane. The immigrant kid's name is Kevin Pathrath, and while working at Jamba Juice and Red Robin, this teenager decides to buy a condemned house. A house that most people wouldn't even walk into. But within 12 months, his net worth jumps from $8,000 to over $75,000, then to six figures, then to millions. Fast forward to today, and the same kid has around 2 million YouTube subscribers, owns over $20 million in real estate, and in one single month made $3 million from YouTube alone. But he didn't stop there. He ran for governor of California and got nearly 10% of the vote. He launched his own ETF, and he launched a startup named HouseHack. And his total net worth, conservative estimates put it at $100 million. This is Kevin Pathrath, better known as Meet Kevin. And I'm about to show you exactly how he built a 9-figure empire from absolutely nothing, including 20 crucial strategies that Kevin used that any YouTuber or business owner can use to scale their own success. But Kevin's story doesn't start with success. It starts with a kind of hardship that would break most people. Kevin Pathrath was born in Germany on January 28, 1992. And when he was just 18 months old, his parents immigrated from Wuppertal to the United States, chasing the American dream. But that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. When Kevin was just 6 years old, his parents divorced. And this wasn't just an emotional trauma, it was financial devastation. His parents' divorce resulted in significant financial hardship, and throughout his childhood, he faced numerous financial difficulties. Now, Kevin was raised by his father, and they were barely scraping by. And by age 16, Kevin was working part-time jobs, saving every penny that he could. Now, here's where Kevin's story takes a romantic turn that would change everything. On a high school trip to Paris, Kevin met a girl named Lauren. And this wasn't just puppy love. Kevin was so serious about this relationship that he made a decision that shocked everyone. In the summer before his senior year of high school, Kevin moved to California to live with Lauren and her family while finishing high school at Boyna High School. And this is really amazing because at just 17 years old, Kevin left everything he knew, moved across the country with just $1,000 to be with a girl that he met on a school trip. Now, this pattern of risk-taking behavior would come to define Kevin's career, which we'll get into soon. Now, most parents would call this insane. Most financial advisors would call this reckless. But here's the genius part. Lauren's parents worked in real estate. And suddenly, Kevin was living with people who talked about investment properties at the dinner table, who discussed market trends, who thought in terms of building wealth, not just earning a paycheck. So at this point, Kevin enrolled at Ventura College and then transferred to UCLA, where he studied economics, accounting, and political science. But the real education was happening at Lauren's family dinner table. So key takeaway number one is Kevin turned his childhood financial trauma into motivation. Instead of being bitter about his circumstances, he used them as fuel to never be poor again. So if you're facing adversity, ask yourself, how can this become my superpower? And by the way, in studying Kevin, myself, and many other people that have been successful, this is a reoccurring theme. For people that are successful, when life gives them lemons, they make it into lemonade.
What's happening, guys? In the editing process of this video, and I have an opportunity for a select group of people. So these are people who are serious about growing their personal brand on YouTube. So basically, we figured out recently how to grow a personal brand and combine all the upsides of a personal brand with the upsides of automation, right? Using AI, using things like this to basically grow your personal brand 10 times faster, which in the past used to take decades to do. And now you can do it significantly faster. And you can do this to get a better job. You know, we work with beginners that just want to get a better job with their personal brand. You can do this to make money as a side hustle. We work with a lot of people like that. We can do this to make more money if you already have a side hustle or a small business. Or if you're already crushing it on YouTube, we can help you crush it 10 times more. We've worked with people like that as well. I mean, I literally can show clients at each level, people that we've gotten from 0 to over 10K, 0 to like over 30K, from like 1K per month all the way up to 185K per month, from around 30K per month all the way up to over 500K per month. So literally at every single level, and it works for everyone in every situation. With that being said, we are only working with 3 to 5 people, and they have to be people who are very serious, right? People who are dedicated to making this work. So if you think you're that type of person, go ahead and apply it down in the description and the pinned comment below, and you could be part of our group of 3 to 5 that we help. So see you there. Have a good one.
So key takeaway number 2 is your environment shapes your mindset. Kevin went from a financially struggling household to living with real estate investors. And suddenly, $1 million thinking wasn't foreign. It was normal dinner conversation. So we all know the saying that you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. And here's a perfect example of that as well. When Kevin was spending a lot of time around people who were not very good when it came to personal finance, but when he started spending time around people who were financially responsible and were good at personal finance, he quickly started to become good at it as well. So the lesson here is do whatever you have to do to get around people that are at the level that you want to be at, whether that involves moving across the country or simply just paying people to mentor you. Do what you got to do. Now, while most college students were partying and figuring out their majors, Kevin was working at Jamba Juice, making around $8,079 in total earnings. But he was also bussing tables at Red Robin. But Kevin wasn't just earning money, he was obsessively saving it. Every tip from Red Robin, every paycheck from Jamba Juice went into his savings account. And at age 18, Kevin earned his real estate license. Think about this. While his classmates were picking college majors, Kevin was already getting licensed to sell million-dollar properties. Then Kevin and Lauren did something that everyone thought was crazy. In 2010, at age 19, they purchased a condemned house and fixed it up. Listen to how Kevin describes this moment.
For us to be able to control going from literally, Jamba Juice and Red Robin employees to brand new real estate agent and being able to control a $750,000 property that we could fix up and have equity in, we're just like, wow.
Think about this. 2 teenagers working minimum wage jobs just multiplied their net worth by nearly 10x in one transaction. But Kevin wasn't done. Kevin and Lauren kept buying, renovating, and renting properties. And by 2021, they owned 22 properties in Southern California with a combined value of over $20 million. But here's what made Kevin different from other real estate investors. He was also working as a real estate agent, and he was using his personal investing experience to build credibility with clients. As Kevin explains,
so that excitement really helped me sell real estate because people they meet me at an open house and they go, "Oh, Kevin, what do you think about the market?" Everybody wanted to know about the market. They're like, "What do you think about the double dip recession?" And I studied as much as I could about the market, but when I was talking to people, the biggest thing that people related to was, wow, you're an agent and you're buying right now.
And Kevin's authenticity was magnetic. By the time he started focusing on YouTube, he had sold over $130 million in real estate and completed over 300 individual transactions. So key takeaway number 3 is that Kevin didn't wait until he was ready or had enough money. At 19, with just $8,000, he bought a condemned house. Most people at his age were worried about midterm exams or the next date that they're going to go on. But action beats perfection every time. There's never going to be an ideal situation for you to take action. You just have to jump in and take action as fast as you can. Key takeaway number 4, Kevin focused on problems that other people were afraid to touch. Condemned houses, distressed properties, difficult renovations. The bigger the problem, the bigger the profit potential. Key takeaway number 5, Kevin turned his investing experience into sales credibility. He wasn't just telling clients what to do, he was showing them what he was doing with his own money. And I think this is a key point because I'm pretty sure anyone that's over 20 years old has probably interacted with a real estate investor or a real estate agent or a realtor at some point. And of course, they all say that right now is the best time to buy ever. But most of us know that they're BSing. However, Kevin was putting his money where his mouth is and he was investing himself. So think about how you can apply this to your business, right? Just as an example, if you're recommending a business model that you're not doing yourself, people are of course going to be skeptical because everyone knows that there's so many people out there that are selling the picks and the shovels, but they've never actually mined the gold themselves. And this is why so many people work with me when it comes to YouTube consulting. I've actually grown a channel to over 1 million subscribers, whereas 99% of YouTube coaches, consultants, and course creators have only grown channels talking about growing channels. Whereas I grew a business that was completely unrelated to growing and making money on YouTube, and I grew it to multiple 6 figures a month before I ever took on a single consulting or coaching client. Now here's something that most people don't know. Kevin actually started his YouTube channel, Meet Kevin, in September of 2010. And that's the same year that he bought his first house. But for years, absolutely nothing happened. And for nearly 8 years, Kevin was uploading videos with barely any views. His channel only had a handful of subscribers and most people would have quit, but Kevin kept uploading. He kept learning and he kept experimenting. Then in 2018, Kevin's life changed forever. He met fellow real estate and finance YouTuber Graham Stephan for lunch in Beverly Hills. And remember that lesson we learned earlier about you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around and how you need to get around people that are doing what you want to do? Well, this is another perfect example of that, because here's how Kevin describes that pivotal moment.
And when I met that YouTuber in Beverly Hills, they did not discourage me from making YouTube videos. They said, you know what? Double down, triple down on what you're doing. Share your enthusiasm for real estate and investing on YouTube.
Now, most people would think this advice was crazy. Multiple videos per day while running a real estate business? While managing 22 properties? But Kevin was different. Kevin took the advice seriously. And his first breakthrough video was called What Graham Stephan Isn't Telling You. And this brought his channel from basically 0 subscribers to 1,000. But Kevin learned something important from this success. Controversy gets attention. So he started making videos criticizing popular finance personalities like Dave Ramsey and Grant Cardone. And this strategy worked almost too well. Dave Ramsey's company, Ramsey Solutions, sued Kevin in 2018 for breach of contract, stealing trade secrets, and defamatory statements. And this is allegedly because Kevin had made a video called Dave Ramsey Exposed, where he criticized Ramsey's business practices. And the case moved to federal court in 2019 and was settled privately out of court. Kevin had to take down the videos, but the controversy had already done its job. It put him on the map. Oh, and it wasn't just Dave Ramsey. He had an entire saga with Grant Cardone that was just super weird, where he had a bunch of people deliver flowers to Grant Cardone and he was dressed up in a really weird way. Yeah, super weird. But it did get attention. And it set him up to the point where he had a small audience and he was positioned to take advantage of what was to come, which was 2020 and the pandemic. Now, when the pandemic hit, markets were in chaos and people were desperate for financial guidance. And Kevin was perfectly positioned. He had real estate expertise, financial knowledge, and was already creating daily content about market conditions. And his channel exploded from around 100,000 subscribers to over 1 million subscribers by December 2020. Oh, and Meet Kevin would talk a lot about how he used to play RuneScape and he'd use a lot of RuneScape analogies and had different RuneScape related paraphernalia in his background, which I think is really cool because I played RuneScape as well. And it was clear that he was targeting a market of people that were around his age, millennials. And during 2020, reportedly, his best month was $522,000 from YouTube AdSense alone. Over $500,000 in a single month from YouTube ad revenue. And he was just getting started. Now, key takeaway number 6 is Kevin started his YouTube channel in 2010, but didn't see any real success until 2018, which is 8 years later. Now, to be fair, he was probably just using his channel to store videos in many cases, but some of them it seemed pretty obvious that he was actually trying to get views. But the lesson here is consistency over time beats perfection in the moment. And all it takes is one video to take off and your channel is basically set forever. Key takeaway number 7 is one conversation changed Kevin's trajectory. Graham Stephan's advice to upload multiple videos daily transformed Kevin's approach to content creation. And it pretty much changed the game for him. So the lesson there is get around people who are where you want to be. And then when they give you advice, actually follow the advice. Then key takeaway number 8 is strategic controversy can accelerate growth, but it does come with risks. Kevin's critical videos brought attention to his tiny channel, but it also brought him a lot of legal challenges. Now, realistically, the risk was probably worth the reward, but you do need to be very careful if you take this approach, because not only can you get sued, but also YouTube may deem your channel to not be advertiser friendly, or it may not comply with the YouTube partner program. So be very careful if you do this. However, it has worked extremely well for many YouTubers. Now, a key tip here is if you're ever going to criticize somebody, attack their thoughts and their ideas, but try to never attack their character, because that's when you can really get into deep water. And honestly, you don't know who they are over the internet. You have no idea who somebody is, so why would you attack their character? And then key takeaway number 9 is Kevin's content was perfectly positioned for the 2020 market chaos. So when opportunity meets preparation, explosive growth can happen. And you may see relatively modest growth, right? When Kevin had 100,000 subscribers, he was probably making a little bit of money from YouTube. But the most important thing is that he was positioned perfectly when opportunity arose. And he took advantage of the opportunity, right? Strike while the iron is hot. Now, while other YouTubers were just focused on ad revenue, Kevin was building a business empire. He created multiple courses on the Teachable platform. One of them I bought myself, which was his YouTube course. And these courses range from real estate investing, stock market analysis, and of course, YouTube growth. And at first, his courses cost somewhere around $433 for lifetime access. And then he would strategically raise the price over time, which created scarcity and urgency in his audience. Because basically, he would be able to say, this is the last time you're going to be able to get the course at $433. And then he would raise the price to like $450 or something like that. But the point was he created scarcity and urgency when he did that, which probably drastically increased his course sales. And with thousands of students enrolled in each course, this generated millions of dollars in revenue. But Kevin didn't stop there. He created private live streams for course members, a members only Discord channel, and exclusive content that kept students engaged long after they completed the initial course. And around this time, Kevin was an absolute content machine. And this was actually the reason that I bought his course, because I saw this man uploading like 7 videos a day sometimes. And I was like, dude, I take like a week to make one video. How the heck are you uploading 7 videos a day? And basically, Kevin had figured out a very streamlined content system that at the time was probably the best system on the market. Now, this is just my opinion, but I do think at this point I've actually improved on Kevin's content creation system. But at the time, what he was doing was absolutely incredible. And he basically had very advanced technology and a complicated setup that most people just simply didn't take the time to figure out how to do. And I think there's a big lesson here in that if you use the best technology and the best systems and processes, you're gonna have a huge advantage over people who don't. And then I think the second lesson here is one of the reasons that Kevin was able to produce so much content is that he is a phenomenal speaker. I mean, this guy has $1 million mouthpiece. He's able to speak at a very high level without making mistakes on and on for hours at a time. So he has unbelievably high levels of energy. I mean, he's basically like a freaking Energizer bunny. And he's able to speak at a very high level intelligently, but make it simple enough so that anybody can understand. Plus he was using his incredible technology system, and that was a killer combination. Now I actually helped one of my clients, Felix and Friends, implement some of these same tactics. And he's also a really good speaker. He uses a very systematized process for making content, which I helped him hire people and streamline it even better than he was doing before. And he's now doing over $1 million a month. He's absolutely crushing it. And people like Kevin paved the way for doing this type of content. But then in 2021, Kevin made an announcement that shocked everyone. He was running for governor of California in the recall election against Gavin Newsom. Now, this was not a publicity stunt. Kevin was in it to win it, and he had a serious 20-point platform. And this focused on removing California's state income tax on the first $250,000 of income, addressing homelessness, and fixing housing affordability. And the campaign gained serious traction. A Survey USA poll showed Kevin leading the pack of 46 replacement candidates. And he was suddenly appearing on major news networks, being covered by the Washington Post, and taken seriously as a political candidate. And when the election was held, Newsom survived the recall. But Kevin came in second place amongst the replacement candidates with 9.6% of the vote, nearly 706,000 votes. Absolutely insane. I mean, think about this. A YouTuber with zero political experience got over 700,000 people to vote for him for governor of California. That is the power of building a trusted audience. And who knows, this might not be the last time that we see Kevin in politics. But Kevin's biggest business move was yet to come. For instance, he went on Graham Stephan's podcast and reported that he was making over $3 million a month, which means at the time he was likely one of the top 5 highest paid YouTubers on the platform. And if you count the profit he was making, he might have been the highest. But he was not done yet. He was actually just getting started. On November 29th, 2022, he launched the Meet Kevin Pricing Power, or PP ETF. The fund began trading at 500,000 and eventually grew to tens of millions. So Kevin literally turned his investment knowledge and a YouTube channel into a financial product that people can buy on the stock market. And he got to ring the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. Now, he recently did close down this ETF, but it's still incredible that a YouTuber was able to start something like this. And it shows the power of personal branding in YouTube. And after this, he also launched his startup, House Hack. And this startup is likely going to be worth tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, you might be wondering, why didn't he just continue selling courses if he was making $3 million a month from them? And I think the big reason that he started focusing more on House Hack and not as much on selling courses is because of equity value. Courses are amazing. They're super passive. You can make a ton of money from them, but it's very, very difficult to actually sell courses, especially if they're tied to a personal brand. However, there are other types of companies that you can launch that you can easily make more money outside of just the revenue that you generate, and they have much better exit potential. And so selling info products is really good for cash flow. In fact, it might be one of the best cash flow businesses in the entire world, but you'll notice that a lot of info product entrepreneurs end up going into software or financial related products, and there's a reason for that, because it's very difficult to sell info product businesses. So key takeaway number 10 is Kevin didn't just create content, he created a business ecosystem. Every piece of content fed into multiple revenue streams. So this is a very common strategy that people with massive personal brands use. Think of the richest man in the world, Elon Musk. His personal brand is like the golden goose, and all of the companies that he has, all freaking 17 of them, he has so many of them, are basically like his golden eggs. So his golden goose lays these golden eggs that he can then sell for billions of dollars. And Meet Kevin is basically using the same strategy. But personal brands that used to take literally decades to grow can now be grown in a fraction of the time if you properly utilize YouTube, social media, systems, and AI, which is why I recommend the hybrid personal brand methodology, where you grow a personal brand in the traditional traditional method that builds a lot of trust, but then you utilize AI, systems, and social media to grow 10 times faster. And this is exactly what I've done with my main channel, Shane Hummus. Now, key takeaway number 11 is Kevin leveraged his YouTube platform to run for governor of California and got nearly 10% of the vote. So your audience can open doors for you that you could never imagine. Like, the intangible benefits that I've gotten from my YouTube channel are 10 times more than the tangible benefits, and I'm making multiple six figures a month. I've gotten to meet people that never would have given me the time of day. I've gotten invites to masterminds that are usually worth $10,000 and I get to go there for free. I've gotten invited to speak on stage at events where the entire crowd is business owners that are making like 7 figures a year or more. I've even gotten the opportunity to get equity in companies that are likely going to sell for over 100 million or even $1 billion. And it's all because of building my personal brand and my YouTube channel. So key takeaway number 12 is Kevin turned his investment expertise into actual financial products that people can buy, because the ultimate monetization is when your knowledge becomes an investment asset. So by 2024, conservative estimates put Kevin's net worth between $60 and $100 million. But how did he get there so fast? Well, here's a key insight about Kevin's wealth building. Real estate investors usually reinvest the majority of money after covering their day-to-day expenses into real estate again. And this means that they usually buy more properties or renovate the ones that they already own. So despite being worth tens of millions, Kevin lives relatively modestly with his wife, Lauren. Well, except for the private jet. But other than that, he lives relatively modestly. And instead of buying luxury cars and expensive toys, they reinvest everything into income-producing assets, which he would probably argue the private jet is an income-producing asset. But Kevin's journey wasn't all wins. In fact, we skipped over a pretty important part of the story. In 2017, he and Lauren expanded into construction services through their organization, and it was an absolute disaster. They lost $1 million in 18 months, which Kevin attributed to narrow cost margins not allowing room for error. But here's what separates successful entrepreneurs from everyone else. Kevin didn't hide from his failure. He talked about it openly, learned from it, and pivoted quickly.
It's something I've never shared before. It was so miserable that looking back now, I could look at that time and go, wow, I'm so glad I didn't give up. And I fought to get that deal reactivated and kept going. And that's the advice I'd give for everybody. Don't give up.
Because Kevin's journey definitely has not been without failures and controversy. Beyond the Dave Ramsey lawsuit and the issues with Grant Cardone, he's faced legal challenges related to his FTX promotions. His California governor campaign faced scrutiny, and his content style has attracted both devoted fans and harsh critics. And in 2023, Kevin was named in a $1 billion lawsuit along with other finance YouTubers who promoted FTX before its collapse. So key takeaway number 13 is Kevin reinvests almost everything into growth assets rather than lifestyle inflation, and this has drastically accelerated his net worth. Key takeaway number 14 is Kevin lost $1 million on his construction business, but learned from it quickly and pivoted. So expensive mistakes are only truly expensive if you don't learn from them. Key takeaway number 15 is to not let problems and controversies drag you down, and to always use it as a learning experience.
Quick break. This video is sponsored by me. Most of you don't know that I actually have my own coaching program on personal branding and then growing and making money on YouTube. And this is good for complete beginners, maybe even people who just want to get a job by growing their personal brand, all the way up to people who are very advanced on YouTube. And they get to work directly with myself and my team to help them reach their goals. Now, we are opening up 3 to 5 spots, and this is pretty rare. We usually don't have these open. We usually only limit them to select people. But we're opening up 3 to 5 spots, and you can check those out down in the description and the pinned comment below. And in this program, you'll get to work directly with myself and other people who are highly successful on YouTube. Just as an example, Sean was able to go all the way from being stuck, not making very much money on his channel, to making over $500,000 a month. Now, that's an example of one of my more advanced students, but there's lots of examples of people who started off from scratch and they got to 5K a month, 10K a month, etc. So check that out down in the description and the pinned comment below.
And key takeaway number 16 is if controversy does strike and you do make a mistake, do everything that you can to make it better. Kevin was very proactive after the FTX collapse, and this is no surprise because he seems like an extremely proactive person. So today, Kevin's YouTube empire includes over 2 million subscribers across multiple channels, with monthly earnings that most people can't even imagine. And Kevin's courses now run largely on autopilot. Once someone purchases, they get lifetime access to the content, private Discord channels, and ongoing updates. And the sales happen 24/7 without Kevin's direct involvement. And additionally, he's got several businesses that he's running, the biggest of which is House Hack. Oh, and let's not forget those 22 freaking properties that generate monthly rental income. And he probably has more since then. So the whole point here is Kevin's personal brand now opens doors that money can't buy. He appears on major financial news networks, he got 10% of the vote of California, and some would argue that his market predictions can move stock prices. And when Kevin posts about a stock or makes a market prediction, thousands of people pay attention. And this influence is worth more than all of his other assets combined. So in conclusion, today, Kevin is one of the most successful creator entrepreneurs of our generation, and he went from a 17-year-old with $1,000 and a crazy dream to a 9-figure empire that spans real estate, media, education, and financial services. He's got over 2 million YouTube subscribers, and his estimated net worth exceeds $100 million. But perhaps most importantly, he did it all while being a family man. I mean, honestly, Kevin is one of the most impressive YouTubers I've ever watched. I literally couldn't believe my eyes when he was uploading like 7 videos a day. And although Kevin has generated some controversy, I really respect how people like Kevin show what's possible for building your personal brand and being a YouTuber, because he's really innovating and trying things that other YouTubers haven't. And that's really why I wanted to cover him in this video. And there's honestly so much to learn from Kevin. The strategies are all there. The blueprint is clear. The only question is, are you ready to take massive action? And if you are, go ahead and book a call with myself and my team down in the description and the pinned comment below, and watch the video I did on how I was able to help Felix streamline his content creation and get to over $1 million a month by clicking right here.